Hi there. I'm here to talk to you about heroes and how heroes give you hope. When you have hope, you can change everything. A little bit of background about myself. I used to live in the UK, and there I taught school, and I taught school for 7 years. And after 7 years, I decided it was time to change my scenery and move back to the US, but rather than fly from London to LA, I chose instead to fly to Spain and to walk for 32 days along the Camino de Santiago. Who here has heard of the Camino de Santiago or even walked it? Quite a few people, great, okay. So as some of you might know, the Camino de Santiago is a 500-mile trek. It starts in the south of France, and you go up and over the Pyrenees Mountains until you end up on the west coast of Spain. And I chose to do this because at that time of changing, going through this transition, I wanted to work out a few things that were bothering me, some challenges that I had in my mind. Does anybody here know what I mean when you need time and space to work out mental stress or just time to figure out things that are too big for you at the moment? Sometimes when we are working through things that are too big for us to figure out, challenges that are too big, we can feel hopeless, right? And when you feel hopeless, you don't really see a good ending to your story. You feel discouraged. You feel like you have despair. You can feel like a failure. And without hope, you just want to sit down and cry. And that's when we need a hero who can step into your life and give you hope. And with hope, you can change everything. With hope, you can change the ending to your story. And a hero is somebody who moves you from a point of hopelessness to a point of hope and turn your direction around. Now, I want to tell you a little bit more about my journey on the Camino and about my own story of hopelessness and heroes. So this is the Camino. The Camino, it's 500 miles long, and every day you wake up and you put all of your belongings in a bag on your back and you start walking. And as you're walking through some pretty beautiful scenery, villages, farmlands, cities, vineyards, mountains. And as you're walking, it's a way for you to just think about things going on in your life in a way that helps you tap into how to fix them. And they say that the Camino is divided into 3 stages. The first stage is the Trail of Joy, and that's the first part where you're super excited to get out there and go. The second part is in the middle, and this is the Trail of Sorrow. It's when things start to get hard. And the final stage is the Trail of Glory, when you finally make it through. Now, when I was in England, about to leave, I was going through so many things. I was leaving a job, a home, friends, a career, and I was moving to the States, and I didn't know what my job was going to be. I didn't have any friends there yet. I don't know, I just didn't know what my future had in store for me, and I was incredibly nervous about all of this and anxious. And so I decided to take this Camino. This is my roommate, Lenny. So Lenny and I, we lived in the same house in the UK, and coincidentally, that same summer, he had taken a job in Canada. But he also wanted to take a journey, so his decision was to go to Morocco, and I was going to go to Spain. And then we thought, okay, at the end of our journeys, we'll meet up in Toronto, we'll celebrate turning 30, and then we'd start our lives in North America. But what nobody knew is that Lenny had a heart condition. And he died unexpectedly in Morocco. And that was really, really hard. It was a really big punch in your gut. You know, you think you have all of these problems in your mind, and then you lose somebody you love like that, and nothing else matters, right? So, because of the timing of his death, I wasn't going to be able to attend his funeral. So I thought, okay, just shift my mind. I'm not going to worry about my own problems anymore. I'm going to go on this Camino, and I'm going to dedicate it to my friend Lenny. I'm going to make it a tribute to him. And so that's what I did. I headed off to Spain with a couple friends, and then we started the Trail of Joy on the Camino. So the thing about the Camino, like any journey, is you often grow tired or weary before you finish, right? You get tired, your bag gets heavy, it's longer than you thought, it's hotter than you thought. And that was true with us. The Camino took its toll. Day after day, we got up and we would walk, and my feet, even though I had good boots, the blisters doubled, tripled, the blisters grew blisters of their own. My heels got cut up and bruised, and you're still trying to walk every day with feet like this. It wasn't fun. I mean, it was fun, but it was really painful. But we kept going, right? Every day, getting up at dawn and walking. And as you're walking, there's things that you don't expect when you're first excited about going on this trail. You don't eat the normal kind of food you used to. You eat a lot of carbs, right? Lots of pasta. You start to really crave the simple things in life. And one day, as I was walking down this hot, dusty trail, I passed this tall, hairy, bearded Australian guy, and he was sitting on the side of the road. And he was eating the best-looking sandwich I'd seen in weeks. It was all wrapped in silver foil and green leafy lettuce sticking out the side of it. And we said hi to him, and he said hi to us. And we walked for maybe another hour, and all we could talk about was this sandwich. It looked homemade. Where did this guy get, the green leafy vegetables? We wanted one. Anyway, about an hour or so later, this guy catches up with us, and we walk. And we walk for maybe 3 or 4 days, walked together, exploring villages in Spain, getting to know each other, becoming friends, and exchanging stories. And as we walked, more and more feet kept getting more and more blistered up. Our legs began to ache, our backs ached, but we still got up and headed out every morning at sunrise, and we walked. One afternoon, I stopped into an internet cafe to check my email. And in there was an email from my friend Lenny's father announcing that the date for the funeral was going to be in a few days. So I replied to him, and I replied to all my friends, and I said, guys, I'm in the middle of the Camino. I'm deep into it, but I'm doing this walk for him. And I sent it away. And that night was really hard. All the grief just came surging back. You just felt everything, But the next morning, we got up, and we all started to head out again. And by now, we're on the part of the Camino known as the Trail of Sorrow. And we were all exhausted. Our feet, our knees, our backs. And one by one, we started to drop. My Australian friend with a sandwich, he said, Christy, my knees, cactus, I can't keep going. Not everybody finishes the Camino. But I was intent to finish this. I was doing this for my friend. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going. But I was in bad shape. My feet had been rebandaged and rebandaged every hour. By noon that day, I'd rebandaged them 3 times. And my last remaining companions told me, Christy, you have to stop. Your feet are not going to get better. So, reluctantly, I called a cab. The cab took me to a bus station. The bus station took me to some city in the north. And I cried the whole way. It was 3 hours of traveling, and I had never felt more hopeless in my life. I hadn't accomplished anything I'd set out to accomplish. My future was still a huge question mark. I was mourning my friend. I couldn't go to his funeral. I couldn't even walk. I couldn't walk the Camino for him. I was alone, sad, hurt. It sucked. It was awful. I felt like a failure. But I get up to the city, Bilbao, find a hostel, check in, hobble over to some internet cafe again, checked my email, and there in my inbox was an email from the Australian guy with the sandwich. And he said, hey, Christy, yep, I'm done. Safe trails to you. I'm taking the next plane out of Bilbao to London and blah, 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 blah. But when he said the next plane out of Bilbao, I stopped. My sad journey north had actually delivered me into a city with an international airport, and within hours, I'd be able to be back in London and attend the funeral of my friend. And so suddenly, from feeling completely dejected, I was filled with hope. Everything could change. I could start to make decisions to do things to make my heart feel better, my head feel better, and that's what I did. I booked the next flight to London, flew in, a friend met me at the airport, she brought me bandages, socks, all the things that I was in dire need of at that stage, and I took a train to the church, my backpack and my hiking boots over my shoulder, and then I was able to say goodbye to my friend. Now, I was miles off of the Camino by now, but I was still very much on my trail of sorrow. So who's the hero in this story? It's the Australian friend with the sandwich. He had no idea, but in one friendly line, he gave me hope. He changed my story, and he helped me move through my trail of sorrow. After the funeral, I took the next plane back, flew right back to Spain, picked up where I left off, and I kept walking. I walked until I finished through the trail of sorrow, until I reached the trail of glory. And 2 weeks later, I staggered into Santiago, where I could finish up the Camino and pay tribute to my friend. My point, I want to leave you with this. Heroes bring you hope. They're the kind of people that say, hey, you can do this. You can change your story. There's another option. There's a possibility. Look up and start making decisions. One by one, everything changed for me. My grief eased. Because I was off the trail for 5 or 6 days, my feet healed. And then I could start to think about my future in ways where I just had a little bit more space to do so. Anybody here in this room has the capacity to be a hero. And all it takes is a little bit of hope. And you can change the ending to someone's story. Thank you.